You can actually rewire your brain with gratitude. So let's talk about it. Welcome back to Wellness Fixes the Pod. I'm your host, Dr. Kelsey Vick, a board certified orthopedic doctor of physical therapy and a pelvic floor physical therapist. And we are entering the week of American Thanksgiving, which I always like to do a gratitude episode and sort of the neuroscience behind gratitude, because a lot of people know the gratitude practice of writing down things that you're grateful for in order to help your brain. But there's actually more effective ways to rewire your brain with certain gratitude practices. So let's dive into all of the ways we can express gratitude and feel gratitude ourselves to help rewire our brains. So, when we look at the research, they break up gratitude into a lot of different categories. So, number one, there's gratitude awareness, and this is what we typically think of. So, it's journaling or meditating on things or experiences that you are grateful for. This is like writing down those 5 things you're grateful for every single day. That is gratitude awareness, where you are becoming more aware of the things you're grateful for. Then there's gratitude experience, which is journaling or meditating on things or experiences where you felt gratitude or experienced gratitude. This can also work where you put yourself into someone else's shoes and feel the gratitude that they feel from an action that someone else performed. So not only can you reminisce on an experience where you felt gratitude or gave gratitude, you can also meditate and put yourself into another person's shoes who is feeling gratitude during a certain experience. I mentioned in last year's episode the people that I always think about when it comes to experiencing gratitude is the Ironman triathlon duo of Dick and Rick Hoyt. They are a father-son duo. The son is functionally disabled, so he is unable to move like a lot of us are, and he is unable to communicate like a lot of us are. But when he finally was able to get a communication device to help him communicate, he asked his dad if he would be willing to do marathons and triathlons with him, that whenever he is being pushed in his wheelchair, he feels like he's flying. He feels like he doesn't have a disability. So his dad said yes and began to get healthier for his son in order to do something for his son that made his son feel a little bit more free, a little bit more normal. And it's just this amazing story of this father who self-admittedly was unhealthy, getting healthy and training for marathons, training for Ironman triathlons, which are like the epitome of triathlons and strength and courage and discipline. And he would pull his son in a inflatable kayak behind him. He would bike with him on his cycle. He would run with him in a wheelchair during these triathlons. So it's just this amazing story of a love that a father has for his son. So anytime I am trying to put myself in someone else's story and experience their gratitude, I put myself in the story of the son and his perspective, feeling that gratitude for his dad for putting in that hard work, that dedication, that discipline in order to help him as the son who can't perform all of these things functionally, help him actually feel what it feels like to fly, basically, to run a marathon, to compete in a triathlon, and just feel like his disability disappears. I could cry at that story. It's one of my favorites, but that is gratitude experience. Gratitude giving is being more vocal or bringing awareness to something or someone that you are grateful for. So intuitively, we probably know about all of those things, but it's helpful to break them up when we talk about the research. So there's gratitude awareness, which is what people typically think of. There's gratitude experience, and then there's also gratitude giving. So when we talk about the science of gratitude and how our bodies benefit from gratitude, let's start with the brain changes that actually occur with gratitude. So with a normal gratitude practice, we have increased dopamine release within our brains, which leads to an increased activation of that motivation and reward system. We have increased serotonin levels, so an improved emotional stability and well-being. Oxytocin activation, so stronger social connections and reduced social stress. fMRI studies have also shown activation in brain areas involved in judgment, empathy, decision-making, emotional processing, and stress regulation. So these changes last for a long time, even after a gratitude intervention. So there are a lot of brain changes that happen with gratitude that are all really positive and positively affect us personally, but also socially with others as well. How can gratitude affect our inflammation and stress? This is something I don't think I mentioned in last year's episode, but I decided to look at more how gratitude can affect a lot of different parts of our body, not just our brains. With gratitude, we have cortisol reduction. So, a regular gratitude practice can reduce cortisol levels by up to 23%. A study in 2024 on pregnant women showed that a regular gratitude practice lowered their cortisol levels during wake and sleep. And as I talk about gratitude lowering cortisol, I want you guys to remember cortisol is not the bad guy. I hate this mean girl reputation that cortisol has. So we've done an entire series on cortisol. I'll link that below for you guys if you want to check it out. But cortisol is good for us. It's beneficial for us in the right dose. It's when it goes on for too long at too high of a level that's where some of the negative side effects come from. So gratitude practice can help lower those cortisol levels. As far as gratitude's effects on our inflammatory system goes and the specific ways that gratitude influences our inflammatory system, primarily anti-inflammation, that needs to be studied a little bit more. But overall, it's looking pretty beneficial because gratitude helps improve our overall immune response, which inflammation is part of that. Inflammation, cortisol, both sort of misunderstood mean girls. We need both of them. It's just when either of them are too high for too long of a period of time, that's where things get a little bit challenging for our bodies to deal with. So inflammation is one of the first steps of our immune response. So we need it. But if it goes on for too long, that's where we might start to feel some of those negative side effects of prolonged inflammation. So gratitude helps improve our overall immune system response. There's reduced inflammation by reducing amygdala activity. And the amygdala is in charge of anger, fear, aggression. I think of the movie, oh gosh, now I can't even think of the name. You guys know what I'm talking about. The one where all of the emotions, there's joy, there's anger. The little anger guy always makes me think of the amygdala. The amygdala is associated with anger, fear, aggression, and a gratitude practice helps to reduce inflammation overall by reducing that amygdala activity. Gratitude practices have also been shown to reduce inflammatory markers in patients with heart failure specifically. So that is really cool news to know that our cardiovascular system and primarily disease associated with our cardiovascular system can be positively affected by gratitude. So other cardiovascular effects and benefits that we get from a gratitude practice, we have improved heart rate variability with a gratitude practice, which heart rate variability sounds like a cardiovascular measure, but it really is that measure of how resilient our nervous system is, how easily it is able to flip between that sympathetic fight or flight response and that parasympathetic rest digest response. So improving our heart rate variability with gratitude is obviously amazing, and it also indicates some nervous system benefits as well. We have improved blood pressure and health of the actual lining of our vasculature with a gratitude practice. And a regular gratitude practice also leads to better autonomic nervous system balance through activation of that parasympathetic, that rest digest part of our nervous system. So when we look at gratitude and its effects on sleep specifically, grateful individuals fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. They have improved perception of sleep quality, improved energy, and they're thinking that gratitude can actually help in the treatment of insomnia. When it comes to biological and sex differences between how men and women both respond to gratitude, women have a higher baseline level of gratitude, both with showing gratitude, so 52% of women versus 44% of men regularly show gratitude, and women also have a higher baseline level of experiencing gratitude. So 64% of women versus 50% of men. Women typically derive greater psychological benefit from a gratitude practice. They find gratitude expression, so expressing our thanks, less complex and overall more rewarding. And women show stronger connections between gratitude and life satisfaction. This episode's all about sort of the recent research on gratitude and the top research on gratitude, but because a lot of the top research on gratitude isn't necessarily that recent, we call them landmark studies. There's a few studies that just changed the field of gratitude. So I want to highlight those studies, even if they might not be the most up-to-date research when it comes to gratitude. They are the studies that sort of helped to change the field. In 2003, the Emmons-McCullough RCT studies show that those who kept a weekly gratitude journal exercised more regularly, reported fewer physical symptoms, felt more optimistic about their lives, and showed improved psychological well-being. And the other landmark study that I want to highlight is the neural correlate study done in 2015. And they were able to actually map gratitude's neural networks using stories of Holocaust survivors. So participants had to place themselves in the shoes of Holocaust survivors receiving gratitude, and their brains were mapped using fMRI. So that was the gratitude experience part of gratitude compared to the first landmark study was the gratitude awareness side of things. And lastly, when it comes to gratitude's effects on our longevity or long-term outcomes of gratitude, recent studies have actually started looking into gratitude's effects on our longevity and mortality. So a 2024 study analyzed almost 50,000 female nurses and found those with the highest gratitude scores had 9% lower all-cause mortality over 4 years and a 15% decreased risk of cardiovascular disease deaths. So it's super cool that, of course, gratitude seems to be a mental activity, but it is very clear that gratitude practices also affect the rest of our bodies, the physical side of our health and wellness, whether that's through the brain and having different processes mediated through the brain, or whether it has direct effects on things like our cardiovascular system and our immune system. And lastly, a 2023 systematic review and meta-analysis, so basically the top of the top when it comes to studies, found that people who performed various gratitude interventions had significantly reduced anxiety and depression, enhanced positive emotions and life satisfaction, greater optimism and appreciation, increased pro-social behaviors, which those are the behaviors where we are intentionally going out of our way to benefit others. They had less psychological pain and worry, improved therapeutic outcomes, and those being treated for anxiety and depression. So I feel like that one wraps it all up, that gratitude practices are wonderful for us, no matter if it's gratitude experiencing, gratitude awareness, or gratitude giving. All of them are beneficial to us. Some might be more so than others when it comes to rewiring our brain. We talked about that last year, where the act of putting ourselves into the shoes of someone else experiencing gratitude, or meditating back on a time in our lives where we experienced gratitude, that actually has significantly more brain changes, as shown by those fMRI studies with the Holocaust survivors, where people had to put themselves in the shoes of those Holocaust survivors. So a super landmark study to show that not only does writing out what we're grateful for have beneficial effects on our bodies, but we can actually rewire our brains by meditating on an experience where we felt gratitude or putting ourselves in shoes of someone else who felt gratitude. So when it comes down to the best gratitude practices, writing 3 to 5 things you're grateful for, writing and sending letters of appreciation, so gratitude giving, experiencing gratitude through real life or meditation, and in-person expressions of appreciation and gratitude. So be vocal about it. And as women, we are really good at that. And we're actually able to feel like that's a little easier to do than men, which I feel like pat ourselves on the back, because I think it's super important to hype other people up and cheer each other on. And I think saying thank you and expressing gratitude to someone else is super beneficial, not only for us to like show them how grateful we are, but knowing that experiencing gratitude also helps them rewire their brains. It helps them in a neuroscience-y way as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you are in the States and celebrating American Thanksgiving, I believe Canadian Thanksgiving's around this time too. So happy Thanksgiving to all. So I hope you enjoyed this sort of focus on relationships, love, friendship, and gratitude throughout the month of November. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for all of you guys who have listened, who have shared the episodes, who have supported me in any way, whether it's through the podcast, through our Substack, our newsletter, our Smart Girl newspaper, through social media. I am so, so grateful for you guys. I love doing this. I love researching. I love learning. And then I love sharing that education with all of you guys. I hope you enjoy this podcast. I hope you enjoy time with your loved ones, time with your families, and time doing the things you love with those that you love, especially as we enter this holiday season. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you guys again on the next episode of Wellness Big Sis the Pod.